Hello everybody, Sergeant Soldier here, and we're back with another How to Rust. And today we are continuing our raid damage series, and we're going to be talking about the rocket. This is the standard rocket. It isn't the high velocity or the incendiary, just the regular rocket. And before you can actually shoot this bad boy off, you're going to need to learn how to make the rocket launcher. And that comes at level 27. It's going to be 60 high quality metal, 200 wood, 80 cloth, and 180 seconds craft time. And that's something that I left out in all the previous videos, and I apologize for that. I completely forgot about crafting time, and I figured, you know what, at this point, let's just add it in. We'll do it for the remaining videos of this series, and hopefully the next time something like this comes around where we're going to do some kind of a damage video like this, I'll make sure to add it then. So, starting off the rocket, level 30, 1,950 charcoal, 1,400 sulfur, 180 metal frags, 30 low-grade fuel, which is roughly 8 cloth and 24 animal fat. And by using the double stack method in the furnace, it comes to 1,170 wood. The triple stack, which is 467, 467, 466 stacks, is 1,750 wood. And the 4 stack, which is 350 each, comes to 875 wood. It takes 10 seconds per rocket. Now when it comes to smelting your sulfur down in your furnace, of course, we're only using a single small furnace. By this point, you guys really need to start using the larger furnaces. It can smelt stuff so much faster with a single stack of wood. However, not everyone has the opportunity to use one or the space to use it, so we're going to keep going like all the rest of the videos with a single small furnace. Now, when you're using the double stack method, your smelted sulfur will reach its max stack size after 1,250 wood, which will leave 200 sulfur ore remaining in each of the 2 stacks. Now, the best way that I found to do this, which hopefully it's still in here, I think it's you, is setting up like this. 170 in one, 1,000 in the other, 2 stacks of sulfur ore, right? Now, when you start doing it like this, you make sure this 170 stack of wood starts burning first. By the time that one's finished, it's going to open up this first slot for the second stack of sulfur to file into, and you can actually burn this furnace without having to come back and check on it. It will completely go out, and you will lose nothing but extra charcoal, which is really, really nice because there are a lot of times when you want to run out of your base and do stuff, but you don't want to have to be worried about coming back and losing sulfur in the ground. So, land right there. Now, if you're using the triple stack sulfur method, your smelted sulfur will reach its max stack size with 2 extra that fall out after roughly 835 wood, which will leave you a stack of 133, 133, and 132 sulfur ore. Lastly, with the 4 stack method of 350 sulfur ore each, your smelted sulfur will reach its max stack size after 625 wood, which will leave 100 ore remaining in each stack. Now, the rocket is 1.3 times more expensive than the C4 charge, and that is comparing 4 rockets to 2 C4 when damaging the stone wall. Now, when it comes to the resources consumed, obviously the rockets are going to cost a lot more. That's simply because the C4 is intended to damage one wall or building entity, whereas the rocket can use splash damage to damage multiple walls or entities. So before we start looking into the actual damage each wall unit is going to be taking, I got this area set up over here. Basically what I'm going to show you is, first, that there's a difference between the splash damage and the direct damage of a rocket. So ideally you want to aim for the center between these 4 walls, right? That's how we all do it. I shoot that off, and as you can see, all these walls are 363, right? The splash hit each wall individually. Now, we go over here to this one, and I aim at a single wall instead of in the dead center of all 4. Looking at the wall that was directly hit, it's 363, but the other ones sustained less damage because it's further away from the point of impact. See that? 424, 363, 388, 424. So last but not least, one thing I want to show you guys is the fact that you cannot use signs to deflect damage when you're using rockets. This was a thing way back in the day. You used to put signs on the outside of your base because the rockets would have to splash damage the sign before actually damaging your base. So what I've done here is I've placed that target right there in the center of all 4 walls, and I'm going to shoot it. Of course all the signs go down, but as you'll see, the walls behind it sustain the same damage as if the signs weren't even there. So that being said, I'm going to fly over here. I'm going to be shooting rockets into each of these little stalls. Hopefully the walls in between each stall is going to absorb the splash damage and not affect the wall next to it. Ideally it should work that way. I've set it up with the doors as well, and I had this barrier between the 2 exterior walls. If it ends up not working out, I'll just repair the wall in between this take and the next take, and you guys will never even notice the difference. So, yeah. We'll be right back. Alright, all the rockets have been fired off. I made sure none of them splashed the walls next to them that need to be checked. The only thing that took extra damage was the walls in between each cubicle. So starting off with the wood wall sustained 247 damage. Now, ideally you wouldn't want to waste a second rocket on this type of wall because it's very easy just to hatchet it down and basically save yourself a rocket and all the resources. However, with this video, we're just going to stick to actually using the rockets themselves. We've been doing it for all the previous videos when the opportunity gave us the chance to save some resources and use, for example, one less satchel charge but one extra grenade. We didn't do that. We went straight with whatever we're testing. So, of course, in this situation, I would never use a second rocket on this wall. I would use a hatchet. So that being said, wood wall, 247 damage, 2 rockets to take it down, and that is 3,900 charcoal, 2,800 sulfur, 360 metal frags, 0 cloth, and 60 low-grade fuel, and by using the double stack furnace method, it is 2,340 wood. Now compare that to the C4 damage, which was 250, it took the wall completely out with 1 C4 charge. That was 3,000 charcoal, 2,200 sulfur, 200 metal frags, 5 cloth, 60 low-grade fuel, and using the double stack method, 2,080 wood. Now of course, as I said, we used 2 rockets for this wall when we shouldn't have. We should really only used 1. So if you compare the 1 C4 charge to the 1 rocket, that 1 rocket was, as we saw previously, 1950 charcoal, 1,400 sulfur, 180 metal frags, 30 low-grade fuel, and roughly 1,170 wood. So it is a lot cheaper to use a single rocket on a wood wall, obviously, than a single C4. However, that's not always going to be the case the further down we go. Next, we have the Stonewall, which sustained 137 damage and will take 4 rockets to take completely out, which is going to cost you 7,800 charcoal, 5,600 sulfur, 720 metal frags, 0 cloth, 120 low-grade fuel, and 4,680 wood. Now, I decided to compare this to C4 simply because the wood wall went down a little bit too easy and I didn't feel like it was enough to compare, actually looking at the numbers-wise, what's going to be more expensive. So I used the Stonewall. The Stonewall took 275 damage from a single C4, which means it's going to take you 2 C4 charges to get through this wall. And that's going to be 6,000 charcoal, 4,400 sulfur, 400 metal frags, 10 cloth, 120 low-grade fuel, and 4,160 wood. Now obviously, as you can see there, going against a single wall, it is much cheaper to use 2 C4 than it is to use 4 rockets. However, this was a larger flat wall that had multiple wall tiles on it, and you wanted to damage all 4 walls at the same time, it would be a lot smarter to use rockets in that case. Moving on to the sheet metal wall. Sheet metal wall sustained 192 damage, which means it's going to take you 4 rockets, which is going to cost 7,800 charcoal, 5,600 sulfur, 720 metal frags, 120 low-grade fuel, and 4,680 wood. Moving on to the armored wall. Armored wall sustained 192 damage, which means it's going to take you 6 rockets to get through this bad boy, 11,700 charcoal, 8,400 sulfur, 1,080 metal frags, 180 low-grade fuel, and 7,020 wood. Now moving on to the doors, obviously the wood door didn't stand a chance. It is gone, which means that the wood door took 200 damage. It's only going to take you 1 rocket to get through it. I wouldn't recommend a rocket for a wood door. I would probably use something a little bit cheaper, but that's completely up to you guys. But the rocket cost was 1,950 charcoal, 1,400 sulfur, 180 metal frags, 30 low-grade fuel, and 1,170 wood. Next up, we have the sheet metal door, which took 220 damage. Now remember from all the previous videos, the sheet metal door and the ladder hatch both took the same amount of damage and required the same amount of explosives, in this case rockets. I decided not to include it in this video, so trust me, it's the same. 2 rockets to get to this bad boy, 3,900 charcoal, 2,800 sulfur, 360 metal frags, 60 low-grade fuel, and 2,340 wood. Last, the armor door. Let me get in there. There we go. Armor door took 220 damage, which means it's going to take 4 rockets to get through this bad boy. 7,800 charcoal, 5,600 sulfur, 720 metal frags, 120 low-grade fuel, and 4,680 wood. Now backing out here to the wood wall. Remember, wood wall, stone wall, wood gate, stone gate, it's all the same depending on what material it's made out of. So whatever damage the wood wall takes is the same damage the wood gate is going to take. And this wood wall took 247 damage, which means it's going to take you 3 rockets to get through it, although I recommend only 2 when doing some hatcheting. It's going to save you a lot of resources by doing it that way. And it's going to cost you 5,850 charcoal, 4,200 sulfur, 540 metal frags, 90 low-grade fuel, and 3,510 wood. Last but not least, we have the Stonewall, which took 137 damage. It's going to take you 6 rockets to get through this bad boy, 11,700 charcoal, 8,400 sulfur, 1,080 metal frags, 180 low-grade fuel, and 7,020 wood. Now, this is it for the rocket video. We have a couple more things left to test in terms of raid damage, and then we're going to be moving on to something different. Because, believe it or not, these videos take a lot of editing. Simply trying to line up all the text into the video editing process and getting everything lined up perfectly, it's a bit of a task. So I'm really looking forward to tackling something different. I have a few ideas of what I could pick up after this is done, but if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, Sergeant Solge, this was How to Rust, the Rocket Raid Damage video, and we'll see you in the next How to Rust video. I said video twice. Video. Yeah. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you want to see more great content from Private Astro or myself, please hit that subscribe button and click on any of the videos above. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next Sergeant Solge or Private Astro video. Bye-bye.